Doke. Okie doke. So, thank you very much for taking the time out to sit down and chat with me. I suppose the best place to start is who are you?
That's a good question. Thank you for asking me to do this. Who am I? I'm a songwriter. I'm a composer. I'm a producer. I'm a recording engineer. I wear a lot of hats. Hopefully, I've mastered some of them.
So, I suppose the next question then is, what is I Am Alive?
I Am Alive is the story of my grandparents and their survival of the Armenian genocide. It's a story that I've been telling for over 2 decades. Its first iteration was a documentary film
Hmm.
that was comprised of editing down 5 hours of interviews that were done by a woman from France. And from that, kind of creating the transcript and then having their memoirs also, each of them, wrote about their history.
Hmm.
And after the documentary, heading into 2015, which was going to be the 100th commemoration of the Armenian genocide,
Hmm.
I wanted to do something again and do something different. And I thought a musical was a good approach. So I brought in my co-writer that I've written with for many years, Lisa Nemzo, and we kind of combed over
Hmm.
the memoirs and the transcripts and used a lot of their own words to create the lyrics to the songs in the musical and just told, hopefully, an interesting story that people could relate to
Hmm.
in the form of song.
And you talked about it being inspired by your grandparents' experience. Why do you think that the story needs to be? Why was that story the story you decided to tell? Why was that story so important for you?
Well, I grew up listening to the stories of the genocide,
Hmm.
and so it was something that I knew. And as I got older, I realized it was a story that not very many people knew,
Hmm.
and a part of history that's not really taught in schools, although I think it's starting to be mandated in some countries and some states here. Um, because it's a little known part of history, it's important to me to get it out there in a
Hmm.
form that's maybe different for people to learn about it. And also, after 100 some odd years, Turkey still does not acknowledge that it was a genocide. So it's kind of a raw wound for the
Hmm.
Armenian people. Um, I don't know that I'm going to get Turkey to admit
Yeah.
to it because of the musical. I think that's kind of a grand,
Hmm.
ambitious, concept. But it's important that this story is told. And I think that it's every survivor story of any type of, either genocide or displacement, being refugees. And I think there's a
Hmm.
lot of that happening today, and which makes this story pretty timely.
So obviously it's based, as you talked about this, the genocide. Did you find it difficult adapting something so, with so much loss of life into a genre that is classically known for being over the top, cheesy, those sort of ideas of musical theatre?
That was a concern,
Hmm.
but when you look at Phantom of the Opera and Les
Hmm.
Miserables, these are not happy pieces,
Hmm.
and they were very successful. And they're also, well, at least Les Miserables is telling us, a part of history as
Yeah.
well. I think that in the musical genre that you can reach more people in a different way by
Hmm.
framing things a certain way. And and obviously there was the concern about inserting a little bit of humor in there without being
Hmm.
campy, just to give some relief from the opening sad parts and the reality of what was happening to my grandparents and to the Armenian people.
Hmm. So what are the plans for the musical? What is the obviously, like you said about it probably won't influence Turkey to confess, but what are the plans for the musical as a project?
Well, for me, when we originally started doing the musical, it was done to pre-recorded music that I
Hmm.
produced in my studio. So, because I wanted a full orchestral sound that I knew I wasn't going to be able to get
Yeah.
with 9 musicians, which is typical of musical theater. So I created the entire underscore that the cast then sung to, and we did 3 on-book stage productions of it. So the last performance was in 2016, and I had all this music with me already, and I
Hmm.
thought I'm going to do something with this and make a CD. And I brought in a bunch of Denver actors to come in and sing and speak some of the dialogue. So making the concept recording, the objective for me was hopefully to get it out there so that people could have a pretty good idea of what the musical was about by just
Hmm.
kind of closing their eyes and listening. But also to, the hope is to get it to producers who might be
Hmm.
interested in staging it. And then, they don't have to imagine what it would sound like because the
Hmm.
recordings are completely produced and, so the idea is there.
What has the response to the recording been like?
It's been really good, and I'm very pleased, including what you had written
Hmm.
about. You really got the idea, and you could sense what was going
Hmm.
on visually without actually seeing it. And that was my objective, was to put enough dialogue in there so that you could follow the story.
Hmm.
And I think people are getting it, and I'm getting a lot of good response.
It does have that sort of like Les Mis. It has the grandeur as well. It feels full. It's historic and educational as well as being entertaining and at parts fun. Um, so we have those like Les Mis that we all know and love. It has very similar grandeur to the recording. Obviously, for you to capture that is amazing. So where can people stay up to date with the show, with you and with the musical itself?
Well, I try to keep the website updated.
Hmm.
IamAliveThemusical.com. And you could listen to all the music on that website as well, and feel free to download the 24-page booklet because you can read more about who the characters are and
Hmm.
recognize them a little more. And I think that the booklet's pretty helpful. Um, and hopefully, I'm also in the process of. I've submitted this to the Grammys this year, and any
Yeah,
kind of, even a nomination nod would be really helpful for the project.
yeah, totally. And where can people stay up to date with you and potentially other projects that you are working on?
They can go to my personal website, denisegentilini.com, and I also keep that updated as well. And I also have another documentary film that's coming out on Netflix. No, it's on Apple TV and Amazon that I did the film score for. It's called Surviving the Silence. So it's a busy month.
Yeah, I'll put the links to the website and to the social media in the description so people can scroll down and follow that through. So final question, I suppose, is how would you describe the musical in one word?
Inspirational.
Hmm. It does. Although it is obviously based on a very serious and horrific event, it does have that sense of inspiration and upliftingness. That's a word. You do feel it, uplifted, empowered after listening to it. So I totally agree. So I just want to end it by saying thank you so much again for sitting down and chatting with me. Obviously, people can listen to the recording on Spotify and the other music sites, and also on the website. But yes, thank you very much, and I shall speak to you soon.
Thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you.